Right, I think we can begin now. So really glad to have Pranav from the Edge and Node team here. Edge and Node is the initial team behind the graph, and really excited for this workshop. Always great to have Pranav. Pranav is always high energy, always brings it, and really excited for this. Yeah, take it away, Pranav.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Denver. Always nice to be here presenting at DevFolio. DevFolio has been, definitely pioneering this Ethereum ecosystem and blockchain space. And, definitely a big hand to these people for conducting such awesome workshops. I've been hanging around the virtual space and everything, and it looks super cool, super strong. Then, really, really excited to be here teaching you guys about subgraphs, how to build subgraphs, how to, query information from the blockchain and take it from there. So let's get started. I hope you are as excited as I am to teach you guys, and we can definitely make it very, very interactive. But what I would like is to present my message before. Let's say that will take about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we can have a one-to-one conversation as to if you have any questions or any other further doubts related to how we can use the graph protocol. All right, let's get started. I'll just share my screen and we can go ahead. All right. So let me. All right, little introduction about me. I'm Pranav. I'm a solutions engineer at Edge and Node, the team behind the Graph protocol. So the Graph is an indexing protocol for querying blockchains like Ethereum and Ipfs. So the basic intent of creating the graph is that whatever information that exists on the blockchain, you have to get it in a decentralized fashion. Like you can query it via APIs, and that's possible only via the graph protocol in a decentralized fashion as of now. And that's why we call it the essential part of the Web3 stack. We can also say there are many protocols where you can get information from outside to the blockchain. Similarly, with the graph protocol, you can get information from the blockchain to the outside world, right? If you don't so there is this big question that why do we need the graph protocol, and why we have to make it work. So the simple reason behind using the graph protocol is that you can the structure of blockchain is made like that you cannot query it in in a way just via that database that is linked list. For example, if I want to have a particular, let's say, crypto kitty at that particular time with this particular color, how do I do that? I'll have to query every block in the blockchain and then make it work. So that's something very inefficient, and for the end user who is just getting the information out, it will be very, very you can say not friendly for making that particular thing work. So, and that is basically the thinking behind the graph, that for getting the information to the front end, to the application that exists, you always have to have this application, and definitely it has to be decentralized. Otherwise you cannot just have, let's say, the blockchain part to be decentralized. The information that you're getting inside the blockchain also has to be decentralized. The information that you're getting to the decentralized application also has to be a decentralized one. And that is only possible in a very user friendly way via the graph protocol. Otherwise, there are two other ways you can do that. That is via a centralized server, which is again against the ethos of Ethereum blockchain in general. And there is single point of failure, so there is no use of calling your decentralized application without using this with this centralized server and things like that. And the other way around is that you query every block of the blockchain and then get the information, and that's very not super friendly, and you might require 10-20 minutes just to query the blockchain, given that blockchain is very, very fast. And nowadays layer 2 scaling solutions and commit chains like Matic have a even smaller block number, so they have much more blocks to be queried upon, and that's not possible for the coming future. So for that reason, you require the graph protocol for your decentralized application to get the information from the blockchain to the to your front end, right? That's the basic reason. And that is why we call the graph protocol as an essential part of the Web3 stack, right? Web3 is all about decentralization, security and scalability, and Web3 and I guess the graph fits very nicely in this particular whole infrastructure. So what happens is, from outside world, you can get the information to the blockchain, using a decentralized infrastructure progress, right? Similarly, from that particular place, the blockchain processes everything, stores the database and related things. And now you need the information from this particular, this particular thing to the front end, and that's possible via the graph protocol, right? So you can say that to make a decentralized application, you require all the three, aspects, and different, definitely some other, parts. And that's where, the graph helps in to make web3 stack a reality, right? And that's where, I believe that, the your decentralized application, as I told, is not complete without using the graph protocol, right? Because you need to get the information from the blockchain to your front end, right? And that's again something that the graph does. So I'll just give you a small demo or a very popular, a very popular decentralized application known as Uniswap, which uses the graph protocol for getting information, in their info page. So let's just try to do that. So we can just see this is the Uniswap, V2. So this is where they have created a subgraph, right? This is the subgraph they have created, and this is the API they are querying, right? So whatever they query, they can, get this information from using the subgraphs. And because of this, there is this info.uniswap page, which is powered by this subgraph. So whatever information you can see here, whatever information, you can find over here, whatever you can see, the front end is definitely, the React JS or whatever part they have created is definitely created, but the information that is put via the backend, via the API, is this particular API that I'm talking about, right? This is the API which gives this particular information, and that API is queried via the GraphQL, right? This is the GraphQL. So for example, I can query via pairs, or I can query via token, right? I can do something like this and make it work, right? So this is how, we can query the blockchain. So here, the Uniswap info page is querying the Ethereum blockchain, right? And they have created a subgraph. So what happens is, there is Ethereum blockchain, right? Which exists, and there is all of this information like tokens, or Uniswap factory, or pairs, or users, or liquidity positions, and all these kind of things that are existing in different blocks of the blockchain, and you have to just get the information out to the front end. How do you make it work? How do you, get the information? For example, I just want the first five, okay? First five, right? How do I make it work? Like the first five or the biggest tokens or something like that. How do I query that information in a decentralized fashion? That's not, again, possible in the blockchain, given the structure that blockchain has been created in. So that's why you have to create a subgraph for that, right? You have to create a subgraph, and from that subgraph, you can query the blockchain and make it work. So the Uniswap team has created a subgraph of the different contracts they have, right? That is what we'll learn in the next, section of the workshop. So they have created this whole subgraph thing, right? And from the subgraph, this API is generated, right? And using this API, you can query the information in their analytics page and related things. So that's again why I say that, the graph is an essential part of the Web3 stack, because without this, you cannot, your application is not complete. You will always require information from the blockchain to the front end to be shown to the different users that exist. And that's again possible only via indexing and querying protocol like the graph protocol. Cool. So as I told you that, that the graph is an essential part of the Web3 stack, you can definitely, imagine that almost every application that values decentralization does, use the graph protocol, or is trying to build upon the graph protocol. And again, these are some of the many examples that that have their own subgraphs created. For example, Uniswap, or Decentraland, Aave, all these people have their own subgraphs, and they are getting information to the front end using the subgraphs, which have the API and the GraphQL information for getting the information to the front end. So Synthetics, all these big good names in the dApp ecosystem does use the graph protocol, right? Moving forward, what I would so definitely in the DeFi space, if you're, if you're a hacker right now in the ecosystem, you want to create something in, this hackathon, you might be thinking something like DeFi, NFT, or something like that. So definitely there are some kind of subgraphs you can look into and, understand that, okay, this is Uniswap v2 and they have treated it like this. This is what I can look forward to, right? So all the decentralized finance applications or project use something like the Graph protocol for getting information. For example, I showed you the info.uniswap page. Similarly, Balancer and Compound Synthetics all use have made their own subgraphs and have created APIs and getting the information to the front end. So if you are getting a decentralized DeFi application, you can definitely consider getting the information to the front end using the Graph protocol, right? You will have to create a subgraph and then you can take it forward. So these are some particular places where you can actually use the Graph protocol for. Right. So for example, yield farming. So, so for example, let's say trades and exchange volume. So let's say, there is a smart contract with a function for trading and exchanging of volume. And you need to get the information as to this user did what kind of exchange and things like that. So that is subscribed to an event that is fired, that is, taken up by the indexer, and that indexer, in return generates API, right? That can be queried for getting the user information that exists, right? Also for NFTs, similarly, all the top projects that exist in this space, like Rarible, Marca, Decentralized, then Mintable or Foundation app, all use the Graph protocol for getting information of their NFTs, let's say the trade or whatever historic data that exists. For example, getting the information of let's say this NFTs, like when it was created, then who bought it, the history of the NFT and things like that. All that information you can get to the front end via this creating a subgraph and then querying it by the API that is exposed by the subgraph. Cool. So this was one example that I showed you, right? How are we decentralizing the network? We already have migrated 20 dApps to the network, and we are migrating further. So right now what I'll be showing you is a hosted service, which is a big indexer for. So what will happen is whenever a smart contract is created and you create a subgraph, that will be deployed to the hosted service, which is let's say a beta for the main network, which will be a decentralized infrastructure created. So using that hosted service is just a playground for playing around with subgraphs, creating a subgraph which is a centralized one. But in the near future, and as we launch the network in December 2020, we already migrated 20 decentralized applications to the network, and they function like there is an indexer, there is a curator, and also there is a consumer who is getting this API information from the APIs, right? So this is more of a decentralized fashion of the hosted service, but currently we'll be working for this particular hackathon purpose. We'll be working on the hosted service, right? How do we create a subgraph? This is again not I'll just look at some questions if exist. Okay, all right, moving forward. Creating a subgraph, it's very easy. You can say that the Graph protocol has always been a developer first approach, because we are a part of the Web3 stack, and we believe that if your application is a part of not the direct users but rather the developers, the first thing that you have to focus on is the developer experience that exists. And that's why we have made all the documentation, and every user flow that exists is in a developer first approach. So it is not that challenging or complicated to create a subgraph. You just need to have the intent, right, to create a subgraph. The first of all, what we'll be doing is that we'll first of all log on to the Explorer and get some things started, create a subgraph, and yeah, you'll see how it works. It works like a charm. What I would suggest, although, is that it is not that complicated or tough to create your first subgraph. Hence, I would suggest you to follow along with me. I'll not be doing very fast things and very in a very strong manner or something like that. I'll be working with you, trying to make sure that you also complete with me. So what we'll be doing in this case is that let's do a fun activity. As I told you, I want to make it very interactive. This particular workshop should be Definitely very interactive. So what we can do in this case is within 10 minutes of completion of the workshop, if you are able to follow along with my demo and complete it, if you are able to create a subgraph and deploy it to the hosted service, then you can definitely post on Twitter, tag Graph Protocol and me. I'm Pranav. This is my Twitter. This is my Twitter handle. So you can just tag me and I'll definitely give you a shout out over there. You can use this hashtag and definitely place the screenshot that, okay, I was able to finish the workshop in such a amazing time, right? As I tell you, as we are going, it is not that tough. So I would definitely suggest you to make a better use of your time and start doing the coding with me, alongside me, right? So that we are in the same pace. So that's basically it. It is not that tough. As I tell you, it is very easy to create a subgraph. And via this, whatever time we have left in the workshop, I'm definitely sure you'll be able to create a subgraph. So let's get started. Let's just get the party going. First of all, as you're following along with me, we'll first of all go to the Explorer, right? I'll just go to the Explorer, the graph.com, right? From here, we'll go to the Explorer. This is the Explorer, right? Sign in with my account. Right. You sign it with your GitHub account, all right? Once you have signed in, you go to the dashboard, right? So what's the steps? First of all, to the Explorer, sign in with the GitHub account, go to the dashboard, and I want to create a subgraph. Let's say I want to name it ETH dev folio or something like that. All right, I can do it like this. ETH dev, right? Let's name it ETH dev. So I have named my subgraph as ETH dev, and let's say this is a demo. Let's create the subgraph. All right. Every instruction will be given in the Explorer itself, so you'll be able to create a subgraph on your own, right? So after this particular thing, the second thing is installing the Graph CLI in your in your local environment in the terminals. So please do this particular thing. You can do it via Yarn, or you can do it via Graph CLI. So Graph CLI is definitely required for for your next things that we'll be doing, for example, graph init and things like that, because we have created this CLI so that further when you interact with the Graph protocol, when you're creating the subgraph, you don't have to make these big steps to make that work. So that's why the CLI is created, so easily you can deploy things and move things around in the subgraph space, right? So just npm install -g this here, right? So just npm install -g this. I already have it, so I won't do it. So you guys can directly like do it. I'm trying to increase the size. Right, now you'll be able to see. Okay, all right. So that's the first step. Npm install the Graph CLI, right? Once that is done, then we'll initialize a subgraph. All right, so let's do it. Graph init dash. I'll just copy this instead. Graph init from examples. Oh, wait, graph init from examples. And what's the name of my subgraph? This is the one. Cool. So I'll just paste this here. All right. What I've done? Oh wait, it could not be pasted. Just copy and paste it here. All right. So a repo, like an initial repo subgraph name. All right. So what I've done is, I've created a template known as Gravatar, right? So that's the first step. of creating a subgraph. That's an example, subgraph. So using this graph init command, you will be getting a template that is created, that is a subgraph, and you can make your changes based on the application that you're building, right? We'll just go through the whole repo to make you understand, what it contains and what you'll have to change for your, application to be created, or for customizing it according to your application, for getting information for your application. All right. So you can see right now, ETH dev is created. Let me go inside. Right. You can see right now. Cool. So you can see that, I was able to create this example repo, and then we'll try to understand, what does this repo contains. First is the contract, right? Definitely you will have, as you are developing in ETH global, you will have your contracts. For example, I've created a this Gravatar contract, which is nothing but creating a Gravatar name, getting information, and updating the name. It's like a to-do list where you create create using to-do list, then update it, then you can even change it, get the information of that information, like that's all. It's just a basic contract for creating creating a name, then updating that name, getting that name, and let's say moving that name. That's basically a small smart contract that we have created. When you'll be creating your own subgraph, you'll replace it with your particular subgraphs, right? Then there is this migration file. That's again something very related to truffle.js, right? This is related to truffle.js, so you can do that. The third thing is the mapping file, and some important parts of the subgraph file are the YML file. This is where you actually decide what information do you want to give. So once you have created the smart contract and converted it into ABI JSON format, the second thing that you have to do is that you will have to in the YML file tell the graph node, which is the indexer, about the subgraph that you want to create. So you have to tell the address where this subgraph will be deployed. If you see here, you'll be able to find, like if I go on Etherscan, this subgraph is deployed there. All right. See, this Gravatar subgraph is deployed there. So I have put in the information, the address, the name of the ABI JSON that's created, then the WASM file. What entities should it have? Like what information should this smart contract get? That is listed over here, right? And what functions do I want to actually utilize in this? For example, new Gravatar and updated Gravatar, that might be a part of this thing. New Gravatar. See this event, right? Whenever there is a registry, this event is fired, right? Which is over here. So that gives information that is indexed by the subgraph, right? So that is again mentioned in the YML file. Similarly, there must be an update as well. This Zoom thing is annoying me. There must be a update, right? Update Gravatar name. So similarly, that is also mentioned in the YML file, right? So that's that events that you are trying to index, the events that you're trying to get information from, is also have to be listed over here. So that is the first thing. You have the subgraph.yml file. The second thing is the entities that you want to like show in the front end. For example, when I showed you the Uniswap subgraph over here, it had some entities. The graph slash, let's say this. Okay, this is a subgraph, right? And it has some entities listed over here, right? But you want to query, you want to get the information for. So those entities are listed down here. See, these are the entities you want to actually query. This is the information you want to get into the front end, right? So let's say there is some guy who wants to query all the Gravatars in his front end. He wants to see all the Gravatars by owner, display name, and image that exists. So he will just have this entity created. That's the second step. The third step is after listening to the events, they have to be mapped according to the information, right? So this is the mapping.ts file that's created. This is the most important part of the subgraph. This is the most amount of time you will be spending while creating your own subgraph. So let's say you create a simple to-do list subgraph. So they will have, let's say there is an event when a task is created. So that first of all will go into the YML file that listen to this event, that task is created. created. Then you will have this, type thing that is, okay, ID of the task and who, the string, which is what is this, what is that looks like. And then you need to handle that event, right? It cannot be directly converted. That information that exists cannot be directly converted or, can be taken up. That's why you need the graph, right? So this mapping.ts file changes the information that exists in the format that is required by the GraphQL APIs, right? So this is the most important part. Again, you can see here that we have, made changes like how should the handle new gravatar look like, how the information should be processed, like gravatar.owner should be like, from the event.params.owner. So this is basically how the information should be portrayed to the front end and can be queried by the GraphQL. That is mentioned over here, right? So as I told you, just to recap, there is a YML file for getting all stating whatever information is required. Then there is this second thing, which is this entities, where you want to specify what information you want to query. And the third part is converting that information from the smart contract to a queryable GraphQL format that exists. So this is basically it. Okay, this is the repo. Now we'll just follow the instructions that's given in the in this particular place, right? The first thing I've done, then I have to do yarn install. I'll do yarn install over here. Yarn install. Cool. Yarn installed happens. Then yarn code gen. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just copying the instructions that's given, right? The yarn code gen will generate this particular folder, which you don't have to seriously care about right now, because the graph team has already created this generated file. But it is a assembly script which actually binds to your events and makes sure that whenever the smart contract fires that event, the indexer looks into it and is converted to a GraphQL API for to be queried by the front end, right? This is basically it. This is all that's required. Once this is done, now we have to do some things so that it shows up in the Explorer into the hosted service. All right, so this is where I have to go. Then I have to paste my access token, pasting my access token here, right? Access token done. Now I'll just deploy it. Okay, I'll just deploy it here. Okay, you can see right now that this can be seen. Now I will deploy it and you'll be able to see the whole thing. I have to replace the subgraph name. Again, just copy the subgraph name from here. Right. And it happens like a charm, right? So this is the beauty of this graph protocol, always a developer first approach, despite indexing something like a blockchain, which is a linked list. You have to keep on listening to the block and the events. It is able to, the tooling has been created, the application, the repo, the graph node, and all these CLI endpoints have been created such that it is not that tough to create a subgraph on your own, right? So I was able to create a subgraph. You can see right now, this is the subgraph that I created, right? These are the entities that I mentioned here. In the GraphQL thing, and I can see that here, right? Whatever smart contract events that were fired by the Gravatar registry thing, you can also read the information that whatever information was fired over here can be queried via the GraphQL APIs using this subgraph that we have created. Now if somebody wants, he can just copy this API and use it in his particular front-end application for, let's say, getting all the on-chain gravatar names. Let's say he just wants the names, display names, so he'll just have the display names. All right, see what are the names, Immer or whatever, right? So those kind of whatever information that's required on the front end can be queried via the GraphQL API that we have created. Again, this is not that tough. Again, if you have been able to do that on your own, please just send me that I was able to do that, and I'll give you a big shout out on the Twitter, because again, this might be the first time you are listening to this concept, and definitely there is this knowledge gap that exists. So if you're able to do that, really awesome, congratulate yourself, and you are into the Web3 stack world, and you are on your path to making your decentralized application a total fully real decentralized application. right? That's basically it. That's my workshop. If you want to, like, understand how was I able to do that, again, this is the repo that you can look into. I can paste that here. uh, how do I paste the link? Okay, I'll send it to Denver, who can paste it, or maybe you can connect with me on Discord, and I'll send you all the information, like, whatever things are required are pasted over here. You can just copy them, and this is a very intrinsic way of creating your own, let's say, subgraph via this repo that exists, right? That's basically it. I hope you liked and enjoyed this subgraph creation session, and you are well versed with how to get information from the blockchain to the front end, right? And via subgraphs you can use those APIs. So there are two ways you can be a part of this whole synergy of subgraphs. Either you create your own application, your own smart contracts, you have to deploy your subgraph, and you have an API that can be queried on the front end. That's the first part. Or secondly, if let's say you want to build something on top of Uniswap, right? It already exists. Uniswap, or it already exists. The API already exists. All you have to do is just go on the Explorer, go on the Uniswap v2 or v3 one, which is the new one. Just have this API and start creating a dashboard for them or something like that, right? That's also one more, let's say there is also one more this thing that can be done. So that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the session. Yeah, one last thing will be that if there are any doubts that you might have after this session, I am definitely available on Discord that Devfolio has given. Other than that, you can follow the graph and its activities that are happening as to how we are decentralizing the network moving forward, with the decentralized querying, with decentralized indexer, curators and delegators on the graph Twitter handle, as well as visit our websites as well as Discord, where everybody is very active and the community is very vibrant. Other than that, if you have any questions that I might not be able to answer, you can also DM me on Twitter. My Twitter handle always has open DM, right? So you can definitely message me there, and yeah, I'll be there for your service. Just putting this also in the chat, not the panelists, to everybody. Yeah, this is basically the thing. Also the workshop link. Yeah. Oh wait. I'm not able to copy the workshop link. Yeah, this one. Cool. I've pasted that. Awesome. That's basically my time. It was a 30-minute thing, right?
Yeah, you have time. Like maybe you can take some time for questions or something.
Sure.
There are some in the Q&A section.
Can you still host the server on IPFS query, each query block to get data in case it is decentralized, right? Yeah, you can do that. So you can go to the graph. There is this whole section for querying the IPFS information on the graph docs. I can maybe paste the link if the time allows, but yeah, you can go to the graph docs. There is this whole section for getting the information on the IPFS part. So just visit.
Take your time. We have time, so take your time.
Sure. Cool. IPFS spinning. So this is the place you should be visiting, right? That's the first question, I guess. Then there is, can I get accounts of users who are online on my DApp at the moment? Yeah, that's again very, very easy. All you have to do is, there is a smart contract that you might have created. There might be an event for the function for getting the user information. All you have to do is that create a subgraph for that by the information that I've told you in this particular workshop, and you will be able to create a subgraph that will be hosted on the Explorer, and the APIs that are exposed from that place, you can just query that API using the GraphQL thing, and you will be able to get the information there. Cool. Answer live. Please suggest some books, tutorials, videos to learn conceptual development of the graph protocol. The best part would be, the docs, the official docs are really cool. You should just go ahead and look into that. That's really nice. Is it possible to query different subgraphs in one API call? Or example, if you want to check Uniswap transaction also ENS, right? What you can do is something like schema stitching, right? That's a part of the GraphQL thing. So if you can do schema stitching, there are 2 APIs that you can stitch and get the information out. So that's again the third part. After login, is the address in the YML the same as the deployed? Yeah, that's the same. Whenever you deploy, let's say you deploy on Ropsten, then you have to change the network name to Ropsten and the address of the contract that was deployed there. Cool. How do WSS subgraph work on graph? Just WSS subgraph, like can you expand here? Prince WSS. uh, uh, if you're talking about like the web sockets, currently like we are working on the web sockets, they are not very reliable, right? So I won't suggest you to use that. Can we use all GraphQL features using the graph protocol? As of now, there are most of the features you can use, but you can definitely look into the versions of what we are currently using. Can you give some insights as to the backend part of graph? So like what happens? Okay, let's do that. If we have like 5 minutes, as to how the graph protocol is able to get this complex linked list structure and put it into a GraphQL API and get the information out for you. So what happens is that whenever there is a smart contract and the event is fired, the graph node is listening to that. That is also the indexer, right? He just listens to that event because you have already deployed the subgraph. It listens to the event and it stores the information, right? And that information then can be later queried in the form of GraphQL APIs to the front end. As how is it decentralized? There are a network of indexers in the network, the graph network. If you just go to the graph slash network slash thegraph.com, you'll be able to see this is the part of the network. All right, so just go there, you'll be able to understand that aspect as well, as to how is it decentralized. But yeah, there are indexers who are group of indexers who are listening to that. Then there is this concept of proof of indexing that the indexer has to submit, and so the data that you're getting, that can be challenged, right, whether it is right or wrong. See, such an amazing thing that the graph has developed. And again, despite not increasing the complexity for developers to get along, you just have to understand how subgraphs are created and they can push in through APIs. What exactly does subgraph store? Should I create subgraph for each type of query? The subgraph stores, you can query functions, you can query blocks, you can query events that exist on the smart contract, right? I hope that solves the query. How does querying using the graph taking lesser than just looking data for the block? Oh my god. So again, this is something very trivial. Let's say you want to get information of 2018 created CryptoKitty. You will have to go through every block of the Ethereum blockchain from 2021 7 July to like 2018 when that CryptoKitty was created. Definitely much more time than the indexing that the graph protocol does for you. So if you create a CryptoKitty subgraph, you just need the contract address and all the functions. Whenever they were triggered, they'll be indexed by the graph protocol, and you can just use the GraphQL API for getting the information out there because the information already is indexed by the graph. What is the criteria on which subgraph created by any curator are accepted? Right. You're talking about the network. Again, currently, when you'll be deploying the subgraph, they'll be deployed on the hosted service, right? They'll not be deployed on the network. Currently, only 20 subgraphs exist, and we are gradually moving towards decentralization and moving towards the network migration. So the curator behavior is again a workshop of its own, but you can say that if you have you have some tokens, you can definitely signal to the indexer that this particular subgraph that exists, for example Uniswap subgraph that exists, is really nice one, and you can index that. So that's a point that you can look or consider for curators. I can take this last question because anyways I have to move forward, already late by 10 minutes. Any basic project that we start with to get a better understanding of the graph protocol? Definitely Gravitar. This particular example subgraph that I created is the first step that you have to move forward with. That's why I told you you can code along with me. There are many people in this workshop who have already coded along, and I've got notification that, you're with the Explorer, screenshot and tagging me that, I was able to create a subgraph. So it's not that tough. Believe me, you just sign up on the Explorer and, follow the instructions that are given to add a subgraph. You'll be able to do that. Believe me. Cool. Awesome. I hope I was able to solve your questions. If there are any further questions, please tag me on Discord. You can also DM me on Twitter, right, for any other information. And yeah, as always, a big hand to DevFolio for conducting such an awesome workshop. I mean, workshop was conducted by me, but the platform was provided by you guys.
No, always great to have you, Pranav. And yeah, excited to see the cool stuff on the graph. They have some cool bounties also this time, and really looking forward to some really cool subgraphs. And what I like about it is like the possibilities are many. Like you can literally just take any information source and index it. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
Thing.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.